Ciao, ciao Francesco Verso. I'm an Italian science fiction writer and editor of future fiction. I'm really thankful for this invitation by the China Global Television Network, and I'm going to give you a small talk about man and space. The relationship between humankind and space is ancient, and it has always been inspired by respect and domination. That unknown endless territory influenced many aspects of human life. Agriculture, navigation, engineering, just to name a few, are disciplines that required humans to turn their heads up and observe the sky and its functioning. It was often necessary to make a huge effort in the imagination and fantasy to get into that massive darkness and discover what was hidden behind the veil of those ethereal appearances. Geographical areas have followed each other without the humankind existing, but then, from its experience, it took just thousands of years before humankind could become aware of its position within the great fresco of the universe. From then on, humanity started to pose difficult questions, to doubt the very tissue of reality, to question the laws of physics, and thus to weigh fantastic narratives in order to explain what was inconceivable and unimaginable to the human mind. That's when science fiction was born. And that's where science fiction really comes from this never-ending process of asking why, of questioning the concreteness of present, and to imagine what would happen if only things could go this way or that way, for good and for bad. When Jules Verne, back in 1865, imagined a cannon shooting a spacecraft to the moon, he couldn't possibly know about the spin launch, a suborbital accelerator able to really shoot payloads in orbit. The freedom of science fiction narrative allows us to imagine the what if that makes us dream about space. This perception of infinite expansion, almost a spectrum of endless possibilities, which has often been accompanied by a sacred sense of respect for the sky and the universe, lasted for a very long time. And only in the last few centuries, when an anthropocentric vision of the world was imposed itself in many Western society, that a radical change in the relationship between man and space took place. Respect was replaced by desire of domination. Management became exploitation. Knowledge made room for property. And so science stripped the universe of its ancient mysteries, made it naked and defenseless against anyone who wanted to appropriate its resources. The Industrial Revolution of the 18th and 19th centuries established itself as a functional framework for predatory ecological abuse, and since then, everything changed. Efficiency, productivity, and unlimitless growth have become the mantras of modernity, in defiance of any other aspect of justice and principle of long-term sustainability. However, it is precisely science over the last decades that has eventually realized its immense power and responsibility towards space, and has attempted to remedy its ability to modify any situation without compensating. For example, from engineering to trash space, from asteroid mining to low-orbit solar farms, and from 3D printing on exoplanets to generation space traveling. And thus it has contributed to the formation of a widespread scientific awareness, a sort of mass environmental consciousness. The golden age of science colonization was a political rush to the stars, a scientific competition to fly as far as possible in order to put a flag on the moon and show it to the world. Now it seems a little different. We look at Mars as a potential second chance, a place to recover from the mistakes we did on Earth. But hopefully, the next golden age of space exploration will not be driven only by commercial rules and billionaires. We are in great need of a new ethic for space exploration, just like we are in great need of a new ethic related to any scientific breakthrough that humanity is able to achieve. Space, like air, water, and solar energy, is given to humanity and to all other species for free, and thus it should belong to everybody and to every other living beings. And as such, space should be treated as a common good for the good of the common beings. The space cannot become the scene for a new colonization, simply changing the ships with the spaceships, the natives with the aliens, and the land colonization with space colonization. Here is where I see science fiction playing a big role, exploring with fantasy the what-if of the space exploration that does not repeat the new world colonization of the 15th and 16th century. I personally come from the land of Galileo Galilei, whose stubborn desire to understand the laws of the universe caused him a great fame and a great risk at the same time. And I also come from the land of Astro Samantha, namely Samantha Cristoforetti, the first European female astronaut to go in space in 2009, and who will go soon again on the International Space Station to make experiments in physical sciences, human biology, and physiology. Italians have been looking at space for centuries with curiosity. We need that curiosity to inspire more people. We need people like Galileo and Astro Samantha to inspire our next steps towards the stars. We need to broaden the horizon on both space exploration and science fiction narratives, because I believe that in order to survive to the extreme conditions that we'll be exposed to in space, we don't need simply augmented biology, adaptive senses, and cognitive enhancement, but we also need augmented wisdom, adapted values, and moral enhancement. Instead of aiming and appropriating the space as fast as possible, we should be aiming at appreciating the space as best as we can. We can be successful at exploring the space only if we explore ourselves and become better human beings. That would be a real change. That would be a real science fiction story. Thank you very much. 谢谢. Take care. Ciao.